Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and another tutorial, my first tutorial of 2022. Hopefully it's a better year than 2021 and 2020. Let's hope for it. Anyways, today I am super excited to introduce you to a brand new pattern designer. Her name is Renee and she is with Mote B. This tutorial is for her very first pattern. Are you ready? You ready? Isn't it adorable? It's like a little biker jacket. Before I show you all the amazing things about this bag, I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction to Renee. So don't mind me as I look over to my computer I did a little mini interview with her, so I want to make sure I get everything correct. So I'm going to read you what she sent me. So Renee says she lives in Killeen, Texas. She started her sewing journey a couple years ago by making clothes. Funnily enough, she used a little Singer sewing machine that her mother bought her when she was 16 years old. It only took her about 17 years to actually use this machine. She had sewed a few things, but then was focusing on getting ready for college and kind of took a break from sewing. She ended up watching different YouTube videos and saw different creative kinds of bags that can be made. She's the kind of person that likes to have a bag to match every outfit, and the idea of being able to create those bags it just did it for her. I'm so happy she's decided to make patterns. Okay, so this is called, and I apologize, Renee, if I say this wrong. I'm not too sure how to pronounce this name. I believe it's the Ariadne Zippered clutch. So this is it. I had so much fun making this bag. This front panel is what takes the majority of the time, but it is definitely worth it. Once you get that done, the rest of the bag goes together pretty much like a basic clutch. So this could be beginner friendly if you just take it slow when it comes to sewing all of this together, which you will see in my video. This bag, let me show you some of the features of the bag and then I'll get into some of the details of what we need to make it. So it has, again, it looks like a jacket. It's got some short pockets in here on both sides. So, I don't know. What could you fit in there? I have a pack of gum here. So a pack of gum would fit in there, if that gives you an idea of the size of these pockets. Yeah, it's just so adorable. The back, you can easily put a zipper pocket on the back if you wanted to. It has a zipper pocket on one side. You can easily put a slip pocket or another zipper pocket on this other side. Again, this is made using non-fraying fabrics because as you can see here, everything is edge coated. We have a lot of raw edges. So we are going to do some Giardini edge paint work on this bag. What else? So my exterior, I used a Dakota Marine vinyl from Fabricville. My lining, I don't know where I got it. It's a leopard print that I had in my stash that I cut all the salvages off of course, so I don't know what it's called. All my hardware, except for the zippers, my zippers and zipper pulls are from Blue Cala Patterns. The rest of the hardware is from Emmeline bags. I tried a new kind of interfacing in this bag that I am just in love with. Emmeline Bags is offering an EB Fuse now, and it comes in 3 different weights. So I used, on all my cotton pieces, I used EB Fuse Lite, which is very similar to an SF101 or a medium woven interfacing. This pattern calls for Decorative Lite. I just used it in the back of the bag here. I think I like it better than Decorative Lite, guys. It's EB Fuse Heavy. So EB Fuse comes in 3 different weights. They are all woven. So I used the 2 of the weights in here, and instead of Decorative, I used the woven. And what I liked about the EB Fuse Heavy was, look, when I turned it, there are no wrinkles. Whereas with Decorative Lite, I always found that there are wrinkles. So, and it gave us about the same stability. So I don't know. I thought it was a perfect bag to try it on, so I did. So that is my interfacing. I will put it all down below for you. And besides that, besides the Giardini edge paint, I did use the base coat, I did use a color, and I did use a protective gloss. I will put all of that down there below. You can buy that at Emmeline Bags or Fabric Impressions here in Canada. But besides that, that's it. That's all that's in this. Now my creative juices are running because if you're like me and you love musicals of all sorts, one of my favorite musicals of all time is Grease. And that's, besides thinking about the Fonz and Happy Days with this, I started thinking about T-birds. I mean, you could totally, on the back of this, if you had a Cricut machine, in silver, put T-birds, or make this in pink with a black collar, and then on the back, put pink ladies. Oh my God, I think it might be something I might have to try. Anyways, enough of my chit chat. I know you probably really want to get to this tutorial. I am going to actually sit down and finish getting this video all uploaded. If you do like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you'd like to support my channel, you can buy me a coffee. I will put that link down below for you if you want to do that. That's completely optional if you want to do it. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys on the other side. All right, so you're going to need decorative rivets, number 5 zipper tape, 5 number 5 zipper pulls, 2 D-rings, 2 swivel clasps, and a slider. Also your nameplate if you want. Now we are going to be doing a lot of edge painting, so I recommend using Giardini base coat. I do about 3 layers, a layer of color, and then a layer of protective gloss. You're going to need your overlay, your piece number B, left chest lapel piece, your 2 collar pieces, your 2 lining body pieces backed with, I'm using EB Fuse Lite, and my 1 exterior backed with EB Fuse Heavy and an extra EB Fuse piece for later on. Your PC for your left lapel, your pattern piece G, 2 of them, your 2 front zipper pocket linings and 2 pieces for your interior zipper pocket. All of these are backed with EB Fuse Lite or a woven interfacing. Your piece E middle chest piece. Your 2 top edge pieces. Your 2 connector pieces and 2 zip tab pieces. Your optional faux pocket piece, your pattern piece D left part of the chest, and your crossbody strap. So I'm going to go ahead and do my crossbody strap off camera. You can catch that class below if you need it. Alright, so let's get things prepped for our edge painting. So we're going to take our 2-piece H's, the collar pieces, and I'm going to just take some double-sided tape outside of the seam allowances. And we are going to stick these together wrong sides together. Again, this pattern is for non-fraying fabrics, so I definitely recommend using vinyl for this. So put them right sides together as evenly as you possibly can. And you're going to do the exact same piece with your, or exact same thing with your G pieces. This is why we cut these pieces mirror to one another, so they can fit on top of each other. Okay, and if it's uneven, just go ahead and trim them up so they're nice and even. And then we're going to take these to the sewing machine and do a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance around all edges. Now these are smart to do first just because Giardini edge paint does take a while to dry. So I'm trying to get all these pieces all painted, so while I am doing some of the other work, they will be dry by the time that we need them. I find that it takes about 20 minutes for each of the layers to dry, and then you're good to go. You do want this top stitching to look really nice because it will show on the final project, or the final result, that is. And you may hear Coco barking in the background. I apologize for that. Okay, so that's done. So now we are going to go ahead and edge paint these pieces. If you need a class on that, I do have that in the description below. So you are going to have to edge paint all of these pieces. As well as the faux pocket piece and the curved edges of the D piece. So I'm going to go ahead and use 3 coats of the base coat, 1 coat of the color, and 1 coat of the protecting gloss. Okay, so while that's drying, we're going to go ahead and start our zipper pockets. So this is for the front zipper pocket. What you're going to do is from one of the short edges, so this is our 6x9 pieces, I believe. So you're going to measure 1.5 inches down from one short edge, a 1/2 inch in from each of the long edges, and then from that first line, measure down 1/2 inch. And that is going to be our zipper pocket placement. So then we're going to take our pattern piece D piece, and I am just going to use my pattern piece with the cutout for the zipper and just match up my lines to make sure I have my placement correct. So once that's good, I can clip this in place. And then you're going to take it to the machine and stitch around that rectangle. So that is all done. So from each of those stitch lines, the short end, you're going to measure in 1/2 inch. Make a mark, do the same on the other side. And then right in between, which is about 1/4 inch up, you're going to mark that center line, do your V's just like we do for any slip pocket or zipper pocket. And then cut along those lines all the way to those 1/2 inch marks, and then out through the V's without cutting your stitching at all. And then you're going to push that lining piece in through that hole, bringing them wrong sides together on the back side. Once I get this in place, I'm just going to take it to the iron and give it a quick press to make sure those seams are nice and taut, making sure that I don't hit my vinyl. So now to install the zipper, I want to make sure that my zipper pull is closing upwards. So first I am going to use my double-sided tape. Again, if your machine cannot handle double-sided tape, you can just hold this in place with your hands as you sew. Or you can try Drit's Wash Away Wonder Tape, which I find didn't gum up my domestic machine too much, but make sure you do a test on it before you use it. Okay, so with our zipper pull closing to the top of our project, so I'm just going to make sure I have my orientation correct going this way, and then I'm going to use my tape to align how I want my zipper to be nice and centered. Now I did choose a fabric for my lining piece that is the same color as my exterior, mainly because it does show through a little bit there. So if you wanted kind of like a faux piping there and you wanted to use a different color, definitely use a different color for your lining piece. But I chose black. And then you're going to go ahead and top stitch this all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I am going to pull my threads long. I don't want to have that back stitch look because this is the front of our bag. So I'm going to pull my threads long, and then I'm going to pull my top thread through and tie it off in the back so I don't have that ugly top stitch type look right in the focal point of the bag. So I'm pulling my bobbin thread up a little bit and then grabbing the loop for my top thread, and I pulled it through there for my start point. Make sure your needle is down before you pivot. This cylinder arm has a needle down function, which is awesome. And when you come back to the start, hand crank, so you're putting your needle in the same hole that you started with. Pull it long, and then pull your bobbin thread to get that loop up from the top thread and pull it through. And then take all 4 strands, and I like to tie it in about 3 knots. And then because I'm using a nylon polyester bonded thread, I do take a lighter to it just to give it a little bit of a melt so it will not fray. Just like so. Okay, and then you're going to fold this up, matching the 2 short ends of that pocket like so. And we are going to sew up all 3 of the open edges there. So start at one edges where it's folded, and then you can continuously go down the other 3 sides. And we have a functioning pocket. So go ahead and trim up that zipper tape and those seam allowances down to about 1/8 of an inch. And that's our left pocket done. So for our right side piece, we're going to do the exact same thing. See here, I went around and my paint is all dry here. I did up these 3 edges. I actually didn't have to do up that top part or around this curvy part, but I just edge coated everything because I wasn't sure what was going to attach to the bag at the time, because this was my first time making this bag. All right, so just like we did with the first one, we are going to use our pattern piece to place where we want our zipper to be. So again, same process with how we drew our zipper lines here. This one's just going to be orientated to the right side rather than the left side. So match up that rectangle with the pattern piece, and then put it over top of the piece, and then you have your right placement. And then just do exactly like we did with the other side. Okay, so now we are going to work on our collar pieces. So we have, these are all edge coated and everything already. So we're going to take our pattern piece and mark up these marks here, which are about 1/4 of an inch up. I'm just using my Tandy leather pen to mark this. And we are going to put some 1/4 inch snips just in those markings there. Now, I edge painted all of these sides where we're clipping right now. You could leave that like you didn't have to edge paint that point, but I edge painted all of it because I wasn't sure. And my pattern piece E, the same thing. Okay, so what I've done is I've centered my pattern piece E to in between those clips, like so. And then we're going to take this to the machine, and we are going to base this just in between those clipped marks, like so. And now we are going to fold where that clip is. So where those clips were, it should be nice and easy to fold it down like this to line it up along the edges. So this is how we're forming the collar of our jacket. So again, down like this. And then we're going to go ahead and base those in place. You're just basting them with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so now we are going to prep our front decorative zipper. So you've seen me do this in many videos where we turn the edge of the zipper down by 90 degrees. And do the same with the other side, as even as you possibly can. And then you're going to take these to the machine and you are just going to base those into place. You could also hand stitch this if you wanted to. Okay, so that's done. So now I'm just going to trim off those 90-degree tails to make it nice and even with our zipper tape. And you want to make sure this is 7 inches long. Okay, so I am going to take my pull off. It's just easier to work with this way. Okay, so you're going to take your, I believe this was our G piece, and you're going to put it down like so, and then put your zipper along that edge as well. So this is on our completed collar piece. We're putting this onto piece E. And we are going to base that in place. So everything was right sides up there. Our zipper was right side up. Our sort of completed collar piece was right side up. And that G piece is right side up as well. It's double-sided though, so there's really only one way to put it. Now I am using my zipper foot just because I want to have a nice straight zipper here, so I find my zipper foot just helps this a lot. I am also using my stiletto because I don't want to sew through my finger like I did just before Christmas. Okay, so now we're going to take this D part. So this long edge here is what you needed to edge paint for this one. And I am going to use double-sided tape. Again, if your machine can't handle the double-sided tape, you may just want to hold this in place while you do this. Double-sided tape just makes it a lot easier for me because it'll stay in place. So you're going to fold the collar out of the way, and you want this to overlap this whole piece by about 1/4 of an inch. I'm also going to quickly just mark on my zipper tape here 1/4 of an inch up on the back side of each piece, and that's just going to make it easier to put our zipper pull on even later. So overlap this about 1/4 of an inch, so you can see this is raw edge again, all the way to the top, kind of eyeball where you want it to be. And then go ahead and top stitch all the way down there with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So again, these stitches are all going to show, so you want this to be nice and neat and straight. Zipper foot helps a lot here to help maintain that nice straight edge. Be very careful not to sew through your collar. Make sure you have it folded out of the way. Okay, so now I've chosen, I want to do my faux pocket piece. This is actually where I want to put my nameplate. I thought that would be super cute. So what I did is I just cut the very top of my pattern piece here, just so I know where my placement is. And I'm just going to take my chalk and draw through the slit that I made there. Now I'm doing this a little bit different than the pattern. I just thought this would be really nice if I can make it look like it was kind of folded on top, so I'm kind of winging my own way. So I'm going to put it upside down, right sides together, right along that line. And I'm going to just stitch that there with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So make sure also that you fold your pocket piece out of the way. You do not want to be sewing through that. So now I'm going to take some double-sided tape outside of our top stitch seam allowance, so just in the middle here. And then I'm going to fold this down nice and taut along that stitch line that we just did and stick it down with the tape. So this is a faux pocket. It is not a usable pocket. Again, make sure your pocket is out of the way and top stitch all the way around these 3 edges. I'm also going to go ahead and put my nameplate right in the center here. You could also do some really pretty rivet work here if you don't want to put a nameplate there. Okay, so we have our 2 halves of the bag done. You can kind of see how our collar is going to fold up like this. It's all coming together really nice. So I have my nameplate there. I made sure it didn't go through my zipper pocket, and I backed it with some duct tape just to make sure my prongs don't wear away at anything. So now you're going to, this is the hardest part of the bag right here. So you're going to take your C piece, and you can see on our E piece, we want to line, that's the wrong side, Brandy, there we go. We want to put them right sides together and line that straight edge right up with that E piece. So for our G collar piece, it is going to hang over a little bit. That is okay. You just want to make sure that this is lined up nice with the E piece that's in between. So that G piece is sandwiched in between with a little bit of an overhang at the bottom. That is exactly what we want. So you can see here, it's kind of sticking out. That's good. Okay, and then I'm going to go and sew along here with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so that is done. Now I put my zipper pull on just to match where the bottom of this main panel lines up with the zipper, like so. And then I'm going to take my pull off again, and that's just going to make sure my alignment is good with the other half of the bag. So what we're going to want to do with our right side piece right side up and our zipper right side up, again, I am going to use double-sided tape. Double-sided tape will make this project so much easier, so I really hope that your machine can handle it. Again, you can use some glue stick or what have you. That might help to not gum up your needle. So on the back straight side, I'm using my double-sided tape. Again, this is another raw edge. And you're going to overlap it onto the tape by about 1/4 of an inch, making it even like how we did with the other side, and using that chalk line we just drew for our placement on our zipper. And we can see I'm just kind of lining it up to make sure it looks good. And it does. And now for the tricky part. So that C piece that we had here, that is going to be like so, the bottom of our zipper sandwich for this piece. So we're going to use some more double-sided tape. And then you are going to line this piece on the underside of the zipper, so the wrong side of the zipper, and you are going to try to make it as even as we possibly can with that curvy part where the zipper is attached on that right side piece. So what we're doing here is making this a double-sided kind of lapel piece. You want to try to make it so these two pieces, the front and the back, are pretty even. So when we stitch it on, they are both caught. They are both going to be visible. So we want this as neat and tidy as it possibly can be. So take your time with this to make your placement really good. Now you can see my top part isn't exactly matching up. That's okay. We are going to trim that up and then do some touch-up edge painting to clean that all up. So once you have your placement where you want it to be, again, I took my time to get it exactly how I wanted it to be. As you can see. Making sure it's still lined up good before I do the final stitching, and it's good. Okay, so then we are going to top stitch up the zipper around this curve and start right at that, stop right at that point. And then we are going to cut this evenly and do some edge paint work again. So again, double checking everything is good. Make sure everything else is tucked out of the way. You do not want to be stitching through anything but those 3 layers. Make sure your stitching is nice and even because all of the stitching is visible. And do a back stitch right at the end at that corner there. Okay, so I already went ahead and I did all of my edge coating along that side. I'm making sure my zipper is nice and even. You can kind of see how it comes down and around like so. And now what you're going to do is take that little area that is edge coated as well. You can see how nice and shiny it is. I'm going to take some double-sided tape again. Again, you can hold this in place with your hands if you wanted to. And then we are going to overlap this over that side collar seam to hide that base stitch. Like so. And then go ahead and top stitch that in place right here. There we go. So you can see my edge coat looks nice. I really like that protective gloss and that shine. It's so pretty. Now it is time to do some decorative rivet work. You can use the rivet placement on the pattern pieces. I'm just going to eyeball it and place it where I think it will look good. So you kind of fold them over like so. And I'm just going to take my marking pen and just put a little dot so I know where I want it to go.
And I want these to kind of fold over evenly like this. And same with on the collar pieces. You could even put one on the pocket piece if you wanted to. That might be really cute right where the point is. But kind of use your imagination what you like and go ahead and put your rivets on. Okay, so this is mine all riveted into place. That's the hardest part, I swear. It was pretty easy. So I have opted not to put my EB Fuse Heavy on the back. It was really hard to stick it on, and there are so many layers here that it actually is giving a pretty good stiffness already. I am using a marine vinyl. So the back of my bag does have the EB Fuse Heavy, which is similar to a decorative light on the back. So I think we're good. So take your main front panel, find your top center, do a small snip or mark, and then you're going to take your top band. I'm going to mark my center on both of the long sides, put them right sides together, and clip across. Hardest part of this bag is done. Now it is super easy. Okay, you're going to go across here with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and then top stitch along the top band with an 1/8 of an inch. I went ahead and I did the back as well. So you can set those aside for now. Okay, so let's prep our connector pieces. So you're just going to take some double-sided tape and fold them into the center. Again, you can use clips. Whenever I say double-sided tape, you can definitely use clips instead. And then we're going to take this to the machine and top stitch with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance down each side. Once that's done, you're going to either baste these in place or, like I'm doing, use some double-sided tape, put your D-ring on, and fold that connector wrong sides together around the straight edge of that D-ring. And once that's done, you can put those aside for later. Okay, now to prep our main zipper, you're going to take your zipper tabs, put them right sides together with our zipper tape on each end. I'm using vinyl zipper tabs. And you're going to go and stitch that with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And then when you are done with that, you're going to kind of fold it over and to the back like so. So the back side will have a raw edge if you're using vinyl like me. It will overlap. That is okay. It's what I want to make sure I am catching both sides of the zipper tab. We can trim up the excess when we're done our top stitching. So go ahead and top stitch those with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And on the back side, I am just trimming that up to match the other side, and then trim up your sides to be even with the zipper tape. Okay, so I went ahead and did my zipper pocket. It's the same as I do for all my bags. That class is down below. Make sure the bottom of the zipper pocket is left open for turning later. Okay. So I went ahead, I usually do the first one with you and the second one off camera. I've switched it around this time, so I did the first one off camera, and then I can show you how I do the second half of the zipper. So you're going to take your lining piece face up. Again, you can use clips if you don't want to use double-sided tape. I always choose double-sided tape with my industrial. My machine has no problems with it. And then you're going to take your zipper right side up, and you're going to make it nice and center and stick it down or clip it down. The second one's always easier because you can use your finished panel there to kind of gauge what center is. So fold your collar down. You want to make sure you don't catch that in the stitching. And on the right side of your exterior piece, do some more double-sided tape, or you can clip it. And put this right sides together with our lining panel and our zipper, sandwiching that zipper in between the lining and the exterior. The rest of this bag goes together exactly like a simple pouch. It is wonderful. So now go ahead and take that to your machine and sew it with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then we're going to top stitch it. I'll show you how we do that here. So I've kept my zipper foot on just because it helps me get a nice non-wavy zipper, because I can be quite close to the teeth this way. So I'm going just slightly over a 1/4 of an inch because I want to be right up against the teeth with my zipper foot. If you need to move your zipper pull out of the way, make sure you put needle down before adjusting that. Okay, and once that's done, what you want to do is you want to push the exterior and the lining wrong sides together. You can press it with an iron if you're using cotton on the interior, or you can finger press it, what have you. Again, you know me and my double-sided tape. Because my machine can handle it, I do love to use it as my baste. So that's what I'm doing here. So I can push my, my seam nice and taut away from my zipper to make sure that nothing is going to get caught in the teeth, especially that lining panel. Like so, and then I'm going to go ahead and top stitch along that top band. Okay, so now let's place our connectors. So flip your lining out of the way, and I am just going to place my connectors right along the bottom of that top band piece there, like so. I'm going to go ahead and just baste that onto the back piece. Okay, now that that's done, what we want to do, just like a pouch, is you want to fold the exterior right sides together and the lining right sides together. We're going to go right where the join is there, and we're going to have that seam pointing towards the lining side. And use a couple clips to hold that in place. Now we have our zipper tabs with like outside of the seam allowance. That's so we do not sew through them. We're going to be sewing right beside them, and it's going to make for a really nice zipper tab end. It just is aesthetically pleasing. Okay, do the same for the other side. And then go ahead and clip all the way around. So again, our exteriors are right sides together and our linings are right sides together. Okay, before I forget, make sure, because I almost forgot, that your zipper is open, because we're going to need that for turning. So on our lining piece, we are going to leave along the bottom an opening of about 6 or 7 inches or so. And that is going to be for turning. We will close this up through the zipper pocket at the end. So I like to just mark open so I don't forget. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start at one of those marks. We're going to be doing 1/2 inch, and then when we get to the exterior, we're going to branch down to 1/4 inch and then back to the lining at 1/2 inch. So our lining is slightly smaller than our exterior. Now I have my zipper foot on here still because I want to get nice and close to our connectors, and that's just going to help get there, especially with only 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm starting at the bottom, back stitching. I'm working at approximately a 1/2 inch seam allowance. As I come up to the exterior, I am going down to 1/4 inch, making sure I am not sewing through the zipper tabs. I'm beside it. And then make sure, kind of feel where your connector is so you don't hit your hardware with that. And then go around this exterior with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're almost done. Okay, and again, as you come up the other side, you want to be aware of where your connector is to make sure your D-ring is folded the correct way. You don't want to hit that with your needle. And then when we get to where our zipper tabs are, make sure you're not sewing through the zipper tab. You're kind of going beside it. And then when you're to your lining, branch out to about a 1/2 inch seam allowance to make it a little bit tighter for the inside. And when we come to the end of our open part, do back stitch. Okay, so I'm just going to take my pinking shears and just cut around these corners so they'll help give us a nice round edge when we turn this out on the lining and on the exterior. And then go ahead and pull your bag through the opening of the bag, of the lining. It turns pretty easy. Okay, go ahead and press out all your seams from the inside, nice and tight. Make sure your connectors were caught. I double, triple, quadruple check that just to make sure. Poke out your zipper tabs so they are nice and square, like I have done here. Look how lovely that looks. Okay, so now what's all left to do is we got to close up the lining in the bottom. So we're going to open up that zipper pocket where we have the bottom of that zipper pocket open and pull the lining up and through that pocket. Match up the raw edge there and sew that shut with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, now that's done. You can stuff the lining back inside the bag. You can see no more hole, yay. And now you can top stitch the nice folded edge of this zipper pocket lining shut. And then you stuff that back in the bag once that's done. And then I am also going to go ahead and right at these connectors, I'm actually going to put a rivet through all of the layers front to back just to give it a little extra stability. That is just something I prefer to do, especially as this is a handle. And we are done.
There you go. That's it. That's all. I really want to see everybody making this bag. If you are not part of my bag makers community on Facebook already, look down below, join my Facebook group, and when you make this amazingly adorable crossbody bag, definitely put it on my page. I want to see them. Anyways, I am going to let you guys all go. I got to get working on the next tutorial because I gave myself a goal of 2 this week. Again, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you do want to buy me a coffee to support my channel, again, that link is down below. Catch you guys on the next one. Bye.